Hello, what is economic thought process? Economic thought process is about incentives and making decisions based on those incentives. Now, you might be aware about a lot of monetary incentives, like a company wants to maximize their profit, so their incentive is profit and they want to make decisions based around that. But what about an individual who is trying to manage his workspace? Workspace meaning the place where he's working in his room, the desk, chair, the laptop arrangement, nothing monetary in nature. I mean, I know you need to buy those stuff, but let's say you already have bought everything. So how do you arrange stuff around? So whenever you arrange stuff around, you have some kind of an incentive of a particular arrangement, that is your comfort or your better ergonomics. So whenever you have that kind of an incentive, you have to make an decision, you have to make an economic decision, and the economics here would be of your time getting invested into the arrangement of your workspace. Now a similar example could be, let's say you want to cook something, and when you are cooking something you have few incentives. A very basic incentive is the taste of the food which you will eat. The second layer of incentive is the amount of nutrition in your food. The third layer of incentive is, do you enjoy cooking? If you enjoy cooking, that is an incentive, and if you do not like cooking, that is a disincentive. Now what is the decision, economic decision out of here? Obviously it is the time you're going to invest in cooking, and the cooking process will involve multiple stages like selecting the food, the raw material rather, and if you have to chop it or you have to stir it or you have to do some kind of pre-processing before cooking, and then after the pre-processing you have to do the real cooking, and then you have to serve it. So there are 2-3 stages over here. So all of these stages require your time investment, and with time there's also called skill investment. What I mean by skill investment is that all stages of cooking have varied levels of skills. Few cooking steps require a greater attention to detail. Now, that investment of time which requires greater attention to detail is kind of like asking you more cost to get profit. If I try to bring the analogy of maximizing profit of a company using your costs to drive the sales or drive the revenue drivers. So that's the idea over here. So I gave you two examples over here. Now whenever I give you an example, think about what is the incentive. Now incentive, as I said, not always is monetary, it could be non-monetary as well. And what are the economic decisions which you have to make? Now the economic decisions need not be monetary in nature as well. They have to have some kind of a bearing on your cost, and this cost is any kind of spending which you're doing from yourself. That spending could be money, that spending could be your effort, that spending could be your time, that spending could be your attention. Now that spending could also be love. Now obviously that is kind of going above and beyond and going very overboard with economic principles, but think about it. You could hypothetically model love as well in an economic framework. Now people need love, they have a demand for love, and there's a supply for love. And whenever you have a demand and supply, you can obviously think of incentives as well. Whenever I need love, there's an incentive for me to get love. But if I need to get love, I have to make few economic decisions. I cannot get love free of cost, I have to incur few costs. Now obviously there are monetary costs to love, but I'm not really imploring you about the monetary costs over here. I'm rather trying to discuss over the non-monetary expense which we have to make, like the time which we will have to invest with ourselves, which with other people. Because if you're thinking of love, it doesn't always require two people. You can have an interaction with yourself and love yourself, and that would also need some kind of an investment from yourself. And yes, the obvious case, when you need love from someone else, you need to do something. You need to have a kind of an investment of your time, your attention, and your love. Essentially, you have to give love to them, then you'll get it back. So that's the idea over here. Now, what could be other ideas over here? Let's say someone has a very bad behavior of smoking, and in a room you have two people, and one smokes, the other doesn't smoke. So over here the thing is that the smoking of cigarettes, for me, if I'm not a smoker, is something which is not having a direct monetary cost, though it will have an indirect monetary cost if I get sick. And for that person, he is anyway going to smoke. So how can I induce him to not smoke? Right now, think about the incentive structure. For me, breathing that smoke filled air in the room is a kind of disincentive, and I really do not have any monetary, or rather non-monetary, economic decisions which I can make as of now, because I have to be in that room. So I have no decision powers over here. Now for that person, he is definitely spending some amount of money. So there's a monetary investment. That's an economic decision which he's making to buy cigarettes. And when he's smoking cigarettes, he's getting incentive out of it. That is his pleasure of smoking, or whatever the case may be. Now, how do we model the structure? So the person like me, who is a non-smoker, could ask that person who is a smoker that, why don't you do the smoking activity which you have when I'm not in the room, and I could give you some kind of a value. Now that value could be of monetary as well as non-monetary in nature. Now obviously monetary means you're paying some money. So if you pay some money, that person might weigh his incentives, the monetary incentive and the smoking incentive, and then he will try to balance them out. And if you are thinking about a non-monetary transaction, you can say that in this room we have a television set, and we have to resort to watching few channels based on compromise. Let us say when you are not smoking, I do not watch channels based on my interest but your interest. Here you get an incentive structure such that the other person will be inclined towards not smoking whenever he wants to watch something which he really enjoys or likes or needs to watch. And in that way you could get some kind of an atmosphere in the room which is of a non-smoking nature. So the thing over here is, you do not need a monetary incentive structure to make an economic decision, and your economic decisions as well does not have to be in monetary nature.